So welcome back to my kitchen, and today I've got a treat for you because I am doing raspberry meringue bars, and it starts off with some self-raising flour that we're going to sieve into a bowl, and to that we're going to add some baking powder. And once the baking powder goes in, we're going to rub in some softened butter, so it's about 10 grams or so of baking powder. Just mix that in along with the flour, just gently, and the butter I've already softened here. And we're going to rub that in just using our hands again. It's the best way to do that. A trusted method that goes back generations, and I'm sure Margaret herself, a great baker, will appreciate the rubbing in method. So 2 hands and just rub that in gently for a few minutes. So now you've that rubbed in, the very light sandy texture. Normally you'd think there should be sugar in there, but there's none because we're going to make it a meringue top for this. So we're going to add 2 egg yolks to that and just mix that around, and that'll come together quite well. So just spend a couple of minutes doing that. So we're going to add a small splash of water to that as well, just to bring it together. That's all you're trying to do after adding the large egg yolks to it. Okay, so that's just about come together there. Now we're not creating this as a pastry because we're going to push this down into the tin that I've lined with parchment paper, and then I'm going to spread that the whole way around there so we can push that down in and apply a little bit of pressure like so. Okay, so I've pushed that down in. It's still quite soft, which is what you want, and to that we're going to add a layer of raspberry jam. So I'm using Clark's raspberry jam just because it's simply brilliant. Fantastic Irish grown fruit. So a good generous layer of that spread right across the top of here. Okay, so I've been quite generous there with the raspberry jam, and we're going to leave that to the side because we need to make a meringue now for the top of that. For the meringue for the top of this, so the egg whites, make sure they're at room temperature. You'll always create a lovely meringue when they're at room temperature. And for me, the greatest tip I was ever told was just to put a pinch of sugar in at the start, and that'll stop your egg whites from overbeating. Deliberately I'm using brown sugar for this recipe, and really we're just going to beat this until it almost doubles in volume. Now that hopefully is what we're after there, with loads of volume. Yeah, isn't that the test? And it hasn't fallen out, so you'll notice it's a bit brown in colour. So we're going to slowly add the brown sugar to this just to get it broken down and worked into it. Okay, so look at how stiff that is and the colour of it. So you know you're going to get a nice almost toffee, and just get that off. Now don't be tempted to bang the side of that because you'll knock all the air out of that, which is not what we want. I know what I'm going to be doing with these. I'm going to be getting a lick of those later. Okay, so we're going to spread the meringue, and again just get it sort of straight on top, and we're just going to spread it out a bit. A little bit of peaks, which is what we're going to be after as we do this, because we're going to sprinkle designated coconut all over the top of that. So that is most of that in there, and just let me spread that out like so. Okay, so not too much pressure. That's that almost complete. There we go. And using the bowl, we'll just clean the spatula, get that last little bit in. And then, now this seems quite a lot of designated coconut, and this is deliberate, and we're going to spread a good layer of that immediately onto the top of the meringue. And there we have it. So there is our coconut spread into that. That's going to straight into the oven. It's going to take about 30 minutes at about 180 degrees. Okay, so I've let this cool. I've trimmed up the sides, which I've had a little nibble of, and it was lovely. And I'm just going to cut these into nice squares, nice sort of bite size, around about that. Now you can see the nice layers in that actually, and it's like a shortbread in underneath. It's lovely in the layer of jam, the meringue, and then the coconut. So we'll get a few of these out just to let you see how beautiful they actually can be. And not just beautiful, but they taste amazing. And they're just lovely to have with a cup of tea, and even just a simple little conversation. So I think that wasn't too big a task to put those together, and that's our very, very simple little raspberry and meringue treats for you, brought to you by Margaret's Eggs.